Welcome, everyone. Desire in its essence is a powerful force. It drives us, motivates us, and gives direction to our lives. However, desire also has a tendency to cloud our perception of reality. When we fixate on what we want, whether it's a relationship, a goal, or a certain outcome, we often become so consumed by the object of our desire that we lose sight of the natural flow of life. We begin to believe that we must manipulate circumstances, take control, and force outcomes to satisfy our desires. In doing so, we sever ourselves from the very rhythm of existence that is meant to guide us. This is where the tension between desire and waiting arises. Desire pulls us forward, demanding action and results, but waiting, true waiting, asks us to pause, to relinquish control, and to trust in something greater than ourselves. This does not mean we abandon our desires or cease wanting. Instead, we must learn to let go of the compulsive need to dictate when and how our desires will manifest. True patience, therefore, is not passive. It is not about simply sitting still and doing nothing. Rather, it is an active state of being, one in which we are fully present, fully aware, and fully attuned to the unfolding of life around us. Patience requires us to surrender the ego's desire for immediate gratification and to trust in the wisdom of the universe, recognizing that things will unfold in their own time and in their own way. In this way, patience becomes an act of faith, faith in the natural order of things, faith in the interconnectedness of all life, and faith in the idea that what is meant for us will come to us when the time is right. The struggle, however, is that we often confuse waiting with inaction. We believe that if we are not constantly doing something, we are wasting time. But waiting is not a waste. It is a profound practice of alignment, a way of allowing ourselves to be in harmony with the flow of life. When we let go of the need to control, we begin to see that life has its own rhythm, a rhythm that is often much wiser than our immediate desires. It knows when the right time is, when the right circumstances are aligned, and when we are truly ready for what we seek. But we can only perceive this wisdom when we release the tight grip of control. Desire unchecked can become a form of blindness. It can lead us to act out of fear, anxiety, or impatience. We begin to believe that if we don't act now, we will lose our chance forever. But this belief is rooted in scarcity, the notion that opportunities are limited, that love is finite, and that time is running out. In reality, life is abundant. The opportunities that are meant for us will not pass us by, but only if we allow them to come in their own time. So what does it mean to let things unfold organically? It means trusting that the process of life is far more intricate and interconnected than we can ever fully understand. It means accepting that there are forces at work beyond our control, and that these forces often have a much broader perspective than we do. We might think we know what is best for us, but life often surprises us with outcomes far greater than anything we could have planned. In moments of waiting, instead of fixating on what we do not yet have, we can turn our attention inward. What is the desire really telling us? What does it reveal about ourselves? Desire is not inherently bad. It is a signal, a reflection of something we yearn for, something we feel incomplete without. But the key is to recognize that fulfillment doesn't come from forcing external circumstances to meet our desires. Fulfillment comes from understanding that the source of what we seek is already within us. When we let go of control, we stop grasping for external validation or satisfaction. We begin to trust that the universe has a far more harmonious way of bringing things into our lives. We stop pushing, we stop resisting, and we start flowing. And it is in this flow that we discover a deeper sense of peace, one that is not tied to whether or not we get what we want immediately, but to the understanding that everything is unfolding as it should. Patience, then, is not a waiting game. It is a way of being in the world, a way that honors the wisdom of timing and the perfection of the unfolding process. When we let go of the need to control, we open ourselves to the possibility that life has something far greater in store for us than we could have ever imagined. And in that space of openness and trust, we find the true essence of patience, the ability to live fully in the present, knowing that the future will bring what it is meant to bring in its own time and in its own way. Time, as we understand it, is a construct, a framework that we use to organize our lives, measure progress, and make sense of the world around us. We divide our days into hours, our years into seasons, and our lives into stages. But when it comes to matters of the heart, time becomes a tricky illusion. We often find ourselves caught in its web, anxiously counting the days, months, or even years as we wait for love to appear, grow, or blossom into something more. However, the truth is that love, in its purest form, transcends the limitations of time. In love, waiting isn't about measuring moments on a clock or a calendar. It's not about waiting for a specific number of days to pass before you meet someone, or watching the clock to determine when a relationship should move to the next stage. Love doesn't adhere to the rigid structures of time that we impose upon it. Instead, love operates in a realm beyond time, an eternal now where moments of connection and understanding arise when we are ready to receive them. To wait for the right person in love is not to be passively counting minutes or years. It's about aligning your soul with the flow of existence, allowing yourself to be in harmony with the natural unfolding of life. Love is not something you can force or rush. It emerges when the conditions, both within you and in the world around you, are right. And this readiness is not something that can be determined by time alone. We often impose deadlines on love, believing that by a certain age or within a particular time frame, we should have found the person we are meant to be with. This pressure can create anxiety, impatience, and a sense of failure if things don't happen according to our preconceived timeline. But this approach misunderstands the nature of love, which is not confined to the ticking of a clock. It is timeless, boundless, and unrestricted by the schedules we create. The real question, then, is not when will I meet the right person, but rather, am I ready to meet them? Readiness in love is not a matter of age or circumstance, but of inner alignment. It's about being in tune with yourself, knowing your own heart, and being open to the connection when it presents itself. The process of waiting then becomes less about time passing and more about the inner work of preparing your heart and soul for the love that is destined to come into your life. When we let go of the illusion of time, we allow ourselves to relax into the present moment. We stop worrying about whether love will come soon or late, and instead focus on being fully present and open in the here and now. It is something we align with. And when we do, we discover that the universe has been working behind the scenes all along, orchestrating events and connections in ways we could never have imagined. So, let go of the mind's impatience and trust in the heart's timing. The universe is always speaking, always guiding, if only we take the time to listen. Waiting is often misunderstood as a passive state, as if we are doing nothing while time slips by. But true waiting, the kind that stems from deep trust, is not passive at all. It is an active surrender to the natural flow of life. To wait in stillness is to place your trust in the divine order, in the wisdom of the universe that knows far more than our limited minds can comprehend. It is a profound act of faith, one that requires patience, presence, and the willingness to let go of control. Stillness is not inactivity. In fact, it is in stillness that we engage in one of the most powerful actions available to us, the act of trust. When we choose to be still, we are saying to the universe, I trust that everything is unfolding as it should. I trust that what is meant for me will not pass me by. This trust allows us to step back from the constant need to force things into being and to instead allow life to reveal itself in its own time. It is a shift from doing to being, from striving to receiving. In a world that glorifies hustle and productivity, stillness can feel counterintuitive. We are taught to go after what we want, to make things happen, to take charge of our destiny. But there is an inherent wisdom in knowing when to act and when to wait. When we rush or push too hard, we often disrupt the natural order of things, forcing outcomes that are not aligned with our true path. But when we embrace stillness, we create space for the right things to come into our lives at the right time. This act of trust, this waiting in stillness, is not about inaction, but about aligning ourselves with the deeper rhythms of life. It is about listening to the quiet voice within, the one that knows when it is time to move and when it is time to rest. In this space of stillness, we begin to understand that life is not something we control, but something we are a part of. There is a divine intelligence at play, orchestrating events and connections that are beyond our understanding. When we trust in this intelligence, we can let go of the need to know all the answers and simply allow things to unfold. Waiting in stillness is an act of courage. It requires us to face our own fears and insecurities, the fear that things won't happen the way we want them to, or that they won't happen at all. But in trusting the stillness, we acknowledge that the universe has a plan far greater than our own. We begin to see that everything is interconnected, that every delay, every pause is serving a higher purpose, even if we can't yet see it. Stillness also allows us to cultivate a deeper connection with ourselves. In the quiet, we can hear the whispers of our soul, guiding us toward what truly matters. When we are constantly in motion, we are often disconnected from this inner wisdom. But in stillness, we can tap into a deeper sense of clarity and alignment. We begin to understand that waiting is not about lack, but about preparation, preparing ourselves for what is to come, for the opportunities, people, and experiences that are on their way to us. To be still is to trust that the universe knows the perfect timing for everything. It's like planting a seed in the ground and trusting that it will grow. You don't need to dig it up every day to check its progress. You simply water it, give it sunlight, and trust that nature will do the rest. In the same way, we must trust that the desires of our hearts, the things we long for, are being nurtured by the universe. Our role is not to force them into being, but to remain still, patient, and open, knowing that they will bloom in their own time. In relationships, waiting in stillness means trusting that the right person will come into your life when both of you are ready. It means not settling for less or rushing into something just to fill a void. Instead, it's about holding space for what is truly meant for you, trusting that the universe is working behind the scenes to bring the right person into your life at the perfect moment. It's about aligning with the flow of love, not forcing it. Stillness is also a form of surrender. It's the recognition that we are not the ultimate architects of our lives. Yes, we have desires, intentions, and dreams, but there is a larger force at play, guiding us toward what is best for our growth and fulfillment. When we surrender to this force, we free ourselves from the anxiety of trying to control every outcome. We trust that the universe has our back, that it knows what we need even better than we do. In stillness, we learn the art of allowing. We allow life to happen rather than trying to manipulate or force it. This doesn't mean we become passive or apathetic. On the contrary, it means we are fully engaged with life, but in a way that is aligned with its natural flow. We take inspired action when the time is right, but we also know when to step back and let things unfold. This balance between action and stillness is the essence of trust. Ultimately, waiting in stillness is an act of deep faith. It is a recognition that life is not a race or a competition, but a journey of unfolding. There is no rush to get to the next destination because every moment is exactly as it should be. When we trust in this unfolding, we experience a profound sense of peace. We stop worrying about when or how things will happen and instead focus on being present, trusting that everything is happening for our highest good. So when you find yourself in a season of waiting, remember that it is not a time of inactivity, but a time of profound inner work. Trust the stillness. Trust that in the quiet, the universe is aligning everything perfectly for you. And when the time is right, the things you have been waiting for will come into your life in ways that are even more beautiful than you could have imagined. True patience is not a state of mere endurance, but a profound stillness within. A silence that transcends the chaos of the external world. It is in this inner silence that we discover a deeper connection to the divine, a place where we can hear the subtle whispers of guidance that often go unnoticed in the noise of our everyday lives. The power of inner silence is immense, for it allows us to rise above the distractions of fear, doubt, and uncertainty, and tap into a wisdom that goes beyond the intellect. It shifts our perspective from one of lack to one of abundance, from impatience to trust. In the quiet of our hearts, we realize that we are not separate from the divine, but are an expression of it. We understand that everything we need, guidance, wisdom, love, is already within us, waiting to be heard in the silence. When we cultivate this inner stillness, we are no longer tossed about by the storms of life, but remain anchored in the deep, unshakable peace of knowing that all is well. So, when the noise of the world becomes overwhelming and you find yourself impatient for answers or outcomes, remember the power of inner silence. Turn inward and listen. Trust that in the quiet you will hear the whispers of divine guidance leading you exactly where you need to be. True patience is not about waiting for life to happen, but about aligning with the deeper flow of existence. It is about knowing that in the stillness you are held by a force far greater than yourself, and that everything is unfolding in perfect harmony, just as it should. The essence of true patience lies in detachment, a profound letting go of the need to control the outcome of our desires. In life, we often cling to a specific result, believing that our happiness or fulfillment depends on things unfolding exactly as we envision. Yet this attachment to a particular outcome is what breeds impatience, frustration, and even suffering. It creates a sense of urgency, a constant need to fix, change, or force things to happen in a certain way. But in reality, true peace and patience come when we release this grip and trust the flow of life. Detachment does not mean indifference or apathy. It is not about giving up on our dreams or desires, but about releasing the need to control how and when they manifest. It is the art of letting go of the outcome while still remaining open to possibility, trusting that life will bring us what is best for us, even if it doesn't look exactly as we had imagined. When we detach from the outcome, we create space for life to surprise us in ways that may be far better than anything we could have planned. This detachment is a form of surrender, but not in the sense of defeat. It is a surrender to the larger, universal wisdom that governs life. A recognition that there is a natural order to things, a flow that we are part of, but cannot fully control. When we detach from the need for a specific result, we align ourselves with this flow. We stop resisting what is and allow life to unfold according to its own divine timing and logic. In relationships, this kind of detachment is especially important. Often we become attached to the idea of a particular person or outcome, believing that if things don't work out in a certain way, we will be incomplete or unhappy. We may try to force a connection, chase after someone, or manipulate circumstances to fit our desires. But in doing so, we are acting from a place of fear. Fear of losing, fear of being alone, or fear of missing out on something we believe we need. When we detach from the outcome in relationships, we release these fears and instead trust that what is meant for us will not pass us by. We stop trying to control how or when love shows up in our lives and instead allow it to come naturally when the timing is right and when both parties are aligned. This detachment frees us from the anxiety of waiting for something specific to happen and allows us to enjoy the present moment, knowing that whatever is meant to be will be. The truth is, we can never fully predict or control the future. We may think we know what is best for us, but life often has a way of revealing greater possibilities than we could have ever imagined. When we are attached to a specific outcome, we limit ourselves to only one possibility. But when we detach, we open ourselves to the infinite possibilities that life has to offer. We stop seeing things as either slash or success slash failure or win slash lose, and instead embrace the idea that everything is unfolding for our highest good, even if we cannot yet see how. Detachment from outcome also allows us to move through life with greater ease and grace. When we are not clinging to a particular result, we are more flexible and adaptable. We become less reactive to setbacks or changes in plans because we are no longer tied to one specific way of things unfolding. Instead, we remain open to the flow of life, trusting that each twist and turn is part of a larger journey leading us to where we are meant to be. This form of detachment requires a deep trust in the universe, a trust that life is always working in our favor, even when things don't go according to our initial plans. It is the understanding that there is a higher intelligence guiding our lives, one that knows what is best for us, even when we may not be able to see it in the moment. When we let go of the need for control, we allow this intelligence to guide us, and in doing so, we experience a sense of peace and freedom that is far greater than anything we could have achieved through force. In this state of detachment, we learn to enjoy the process of life rather than fixating on the end result. We no longer see waiting as a burden or a sign of failure, but as an integral part of the journey. We begin to understand that the path itself is just as important as the destination, and that every moment, whether it looks like progress or not, is contributing to our growth and evolution. Detachment allows us to appreciate the present moment, to live fully in the now, without the constant pressure of needing things to be different. Moreover, when we detach from the outcome, we also free ourselves from disappointment. Disappointment arises when reality doesn't meet our expectations, but when we have no rigid expectations to begin with, there is nothing to be disappointed about. Instead, we meet life with a sense of curiosity and openness, welcoming whatever comes our way as part of the greater plan. This doesn't mean that we don't feel emotions or desires, but that we approach life with a sense of inner peace, knowing that we will be okay no matter what happens. Ultimately, detachment from outcome is about trusting life, trusting ourselves, and trusting that everything is happening exactly as it should. It is about releasing the illusion of control and embracing the uncertainty of the unknown. In this detachment, we find true patience, not the kind that waits anxiously for something to happen, but the kind that rests in the knowing that everything is already unfolding perfectly.